Thank you, Scott. Good to see everybody. Exciting day today. I know we did a version of this not too long ago. Not a whole lot has changed, but there's one big addition, literally one big addition. Austin UK from Dallas, Texas. Just an outstanding offensive lineman. He's a tackle with length and athleticism and a physical nature that gets you excited as a football coach. But much like when I saw Andrus, much like when I saw Walker Little, this is a guy that probably could play anywhere along the offensive line that he wants to. We see him as a tackle and look forward to getting him hopefully playing time early, much like we did with Miles Hinton this past year. And we think it's a great addition to the football team. The most of the guys stand pat. And we talked about some of these, but I'm willing to answer any other questions you all may have. But I think they're now kind of coming to focus, this whole group here. The defensive backs, you just need volume in our conference, and we were a little light, in particular, anticipating losing some guys going on this year. Glad we signed the 4 that we did. The defensive line being low in numbers. Love the guys that we have, but then adding 3 guys we think that can help us as well. Big addition to our fullback room, our running back room, but really trying to across the board address a lot of different positions with guys that we think have a chance to come and help us play, including Ari Patu, our quarterback in his class, which everyone's who cares what the ranking is. Everybody that's seen him throw live comes back and saying, wow, guy's got some tools athletically, but also very accurate passer, strong arm, great human being. So this class, I think, is very underrated. I don't know what the ranking is, but there are a lot of really good players here that we think can help us out. I'd love to open it up for questions.
First question will go to Jacob Rayburn. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Coach. Austin was, I think, a late bloomer even by non-COVID standards. How he kind of exploded onto the scene. What did you see in his film, and did you have a chance at all to kind of compare and contrast his junior to senior year to see just what the reasons were he all of a sudden became a national prospect?
Well, COVID did, I think, play a part in it, where this is a perfect example of someone that just seeing him in the spring would have started this mad rush of offers last spring. As opposed to really happening once the senior film started coming out, because that was the kicker. He has made a lot of improvements since the year before. Played a lot more, played with a lot of confidence and energy and passion. That was just so evident to see. All you have to do is watch 2 clips, and you see what kind of player he is. I don't know why the rankings never really changed with him, but there's no way he's as low ranked as all the services have him right now. This guy's an outstanding football player. So I think that was the big thing. It's not having a spring recruiting season where people could go through the high school and get a chance to see height, weight, speed, watch him go through drills. I think that was the biggest thing. But the film, he jumps off the film, and such a perfect example of what we're looking for with our big guys. I think we've done an outstanding job, Coach Carberry, our whole staff, of really finding the right guys that fit what we do. And now to have a couple guys in this class that we think can come in and really, really add to us. Love Jack Lara from Texas as well. These guys are long, athletic, physical guys that lend themselves to Stanford Cardinal football.
You're also bringing in or announced today another walk-on offensive lineman, Will Gibson. So it's 2, as of right now, 2 really high quality walk-ons coming in. Wondering if you could discuss both the bringing in a pretty consistent volume of quality walk-on linemen, but also the challenge that of retaining walk-on linemen once they're in the program. It's a really tough ask for those kids to put in the work over several years at that position. Can you kind of address both ends of that?
Yeah, I think non-scholarship guys anywhere, it's difficult. College football is a difficult sport. It's year-round. It's very physical. The scholastic demands are very demanding. A lot of these guys don't play very much. So keeping those guys with you and on the roster the whole 4+ years is sometimes very difficult. Our biggest issue with the volume of our offensive line is having one year where we didn't get any. We got one, but he was never healthy enough to play and ended up not playing football. So we missed a year. We missed a year where we could have added 4 guys and we added 0. So that's where our volume really has been difficult. But finding non-scholarship guys, honestly, that are borderline scholarship guys. That's the key. Is you're looking for guys to come and not just fill out the roster, but we've got a great track record here of rewarding non-scholarship guys with scholarships if they're able to play their way into playing time. And so finding those guys that are, sometimes they have a lot of Ivies and maybe 1 or 2 Division I offers, and Power 5 offers, or even Group of 5 offers, that are fascinated with Stanford University and want to come for the education and for the football and for that opportunity to play and be a part of this football team. So that's the key, is finding the right people always that fit what we are and what we're looking for, and have just enough enticement to where we're not just, just talking, we're actually backing it up, that we will award scholarships to guys that earn the right to play. We awarded 2 last year. So that's a big one, not to mention we have spots. So we have vacancies, in particular with, 2 of our starters leaving this year, and not bringing not bringing anybody a couple classes ago. These guys are in and they have a chance, opportunity to be in the 2 deep, not just be 4th and 5th string, but to really be in the 2 or 3 deep, and prepare them to play if necessary.
Thanks, Coach.
Next, we'll go to RJ Abadia. Go ahead, RJ.
Hey, Coach. The NCAA is kind of semi kicking the can on the NIL stuff, and with the legislation in Congress. I'm just curious, how do you envision it actually playing out, both on the national scene, but also the Stanford version of what this is going to be for your players and your recruits?
Yeah, this is that's a very well-worded question. It really is. That's not sarcastic. That's I think that's a very well-worded question, because it gives me very little wiggle room. The NIL situation is almost like a great fish story, right? Where someone tells you how big the fish was that they caught, but you never really know how big it is. And the reason why I explain that is, with the NIL legislation, if anybody's really looked at it, there's really not a whole bunch that we can do. We're allowing the student athletes to do things, but it's being promoted by a lot of people to say, oh, come here and we'll help you do this. We really can't help them do very much. So outside of educate, outside of help them make good decisions with this legislation. Our version will do whatever is allowed by our conference, by the NCAA, by the letter of the rules. But really, this is an opportunity for student athletes to make money off of the name, image, and likeness. It's not an opportunity for us to pay them. It's not an opportunity for us to find ways for them to make money, really. This is an opportunity for them to explore opportunities to benefit themselves. And our job is to educate them and help them make good decisions, but we're really not overly involved, regardless of what other people out there will say and try to promote. But whatever we're allowed to do, we'll do as much as anybody without breaking rules. I think it's great. I think it's exciting. I think it's years later than it should have happened. And I'm in that group of people too, to say, we need some uniformity. We from state to state, we would love for our governmental body to come in and make sure the parameters are kind of very easy for all of us to see. I'm excited too about, it's very rare somebody says I'm excited for Congress to get involved to a certain degree, for those people that do break the rules. So they're not just breaking NCAA rules, or potentially breaking laws, which now gives people investigating subpoena power. right? This is a whole nother conversation. All I've ever really pushed for over the years is somewhat of a level playing field. Let's everybody have the same rules. Let's not allow somebody to cheat. If they cheat, they should get punished. But this should be a positive experience for student athletes that we in the college football world should be able to advise and guide. But really, this is for the student athletes to promote themselves and handle some, business opportunities, whether they be, personally or over the internet. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm excited for boundaries, and I think it's going to be generally a positive thing for student athletes.
Have you already had to have that conversation with recruits, either in this class or coming up, maybe just in terms of clarifying what the reality is versus what they may have heard from other schools?
I've had a few. We've had a few parents, and mainly in inquisitions of trying to get, because it's still kind of nebulous for a lot of people, some of us too, right? And people just trying to understand more. So the more clarity I think that we can have out there, the better. And I basically tell them what I just told you. I mean, there's really not a lot that people can do. I think there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. I think there are a lot of universities and football programs in particular, some basketball programs that are, I wouldn't say they're not being truthful. I would say they are insinuating that they'll be able to do more than they're able to do. Like someone can't come to Stanford and Stanford will help them promote themselves as a Stanford football player. That can't happen. But it's being insinuated by some programs out there. So I'm looking forward to clarity. I'm looking forward to this being a positive thing in general for student athletes going forward. And like I said, we'll be able to do whatever anybody else is to do within the letter of the law.
And then my last question is just positionally, you guys clearly have course corrected from that offensive line one recruiting year. You've got as full a room as you've had in quite a while. So I'm just curious. I wanted to ask specifically about the linebacker room, just because it seems top heavy experience wise. You clearly have numbers, but there's a lot of older guys, and it's harder even now with the Mulligan year, so to speak. So is that kind of the next target for you guys moving ahead in these classes in terms of numbers? And are there any positions you're looking at in that regard?
Well, and I've had this conversation with multiple head coaches in our conference and around the country, and with some of the NCAA people that I communicate with on these conference calls and committee meetings for committees that I'm on. Nobody knows what the hell's going on, right? You've got a group of people that some of them have decided to come back. You have some people this year doesn't count. So it's really hard to tell number wise what you're going to count on next year. We can make a guess, but it's really, really difficult. Every year, though, we're going to be aggressive on the offensive and defensive line. Every year, we're going to look for difference makers and skill positions on the offensive side. Every year, we're going to look for defensive backs, safeties, corners, nickels, et cetera, just because you have to every year. We'll see how our linebacker situation plays out. I think we've got some outstanding talent in there. We have some depth, knock on wood, everybody stays healthy. We've got depth, both at outside linebacker and inside linebacker. Who knows how many of these guys will come back after the 21 season. A couple guys could have great years and they could fly the coop, and then the next group has to step up and be ready. So depth is a good thing for us. And I think we'll continue to pad that as best as possible. But depth will continue to rise and fall very, very quickly because of this kind of year that didn't count. So it's hard to really tell. I was making a list of all the guys and what year they are, like I do every year. Some of them, people that are third year that redshirted, I don't know what year they are. So we kind of have to really be smart about it, but really always attack those positions I just said. The lines are always skill positions, always. And then we'll see what happens at the end of the 21 season. We have an idea what the 22 class is going to look like, but really hard to say exactly. And then once that is over, you have an idea to figure out what the 23 class looks like. but I think the 23 class is going to be a little bit easier to tell than the 22 class. But we have a good idea, but it's not going to come into focus for a while.
Next, let's go back to Jacob Rayburn. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Coach. I've seen recruits in the 22 class talking about attending a virtual junior day. I was wondering if you guys are now allowed to host groups, and if that's the case, how you plan to kind of balance the great effectiveness we've heard about with it just being the recruit and kind of their immediate support system versus judging what is the number of people we should invite and that sort of thing.
That is the trick. So yeah, we're looking forward to having the virtual junior days with multiple recruits on the Zoom, on the call. You're right though, if it's too many, people could get lost in the shuffle. So finding that right number and the right combination of people, so that personalities mix and everyone can get some attention, and there can be some communication from the recruits to each other, some communication from the recruits to us, and in different groups. So I think everybody's trying to figure out the right mix of how to do that. Our junior days have usually been pretty intimate and relatively small compared to other places. And I think more people will try to do it in that way now because you have, 50 people. Boy, it's hard to make sure everyone has an opportunity to connect with somebody. So finding the right number, finding the right group of people, how many of these do you do, is going to be the trick. But I will say this, you mentioned something also very important. We can't sacrifice those individual Zoom sessions, and we can't sacrifice those. We still need to be in close contact, get to know our young people and their support system very, very well. Because once again, we're going to ask these young men to do more than anybody else in America academically, and we have to get to know them first and foremost to find out if they will do it. But second of all, for them to trust us enough to go through that process, that we believe in their capabilities, and we'll walk with them this entire way. That's hard to do if you don't really get to know the young man and his family. So it's going to be a little tricky. We're excited about it. I think our virtual visits have been extremely positive. So now tailoring those to a wider group of people without losing them time-wise is going to be the trick. And I think we have a good head start on that.
And one follow-up on that, the dead period is scheduled to end in April. That comes with a giant asterisk because it's been scheduled to end a couple of times now. I've heard from many recruits who say they really want to visit Stanford, they're just not sure when. So my thought, based off of this last answer you just gave, is do you envision kind of a mix of hosting virtual junior days even once in-person junior days are allowed? And do you have any thoughts about handling in-person junior days when there might be some nervousness about that, even when it's technically cleared?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be a free-for-all. You ask any recruit around the country in the last 2 years if they would like to visit campuses, and the answer 100% is yes. But even then, when it's a possibility, there are going to be some families that'll say, you know what, our area is not great right now, or that area is not great right now. So we're going to hold off until the numbers are a little bit better. So you'll still have some reservation by some people that may not want to visit, but you'll have a good group that will want to. I'm really curious to see if April 15th is the day that this stops, because every state, every county, every campus is going to have different protocols. Some may not have hardly many at all. And I still have the words of one of the infectious disease doctors that talked to us as a group months ago, that says the worst thing that you can do in a pandemic is go from city to city to city to city. So I think opening it up without restriction, without reservation, without any kind of process, now you're exposing people to the virus, being able to go from campus to campus to campus. So like I said, every campus is going to have their own way of doing it. Some may do it in a socially distant way. Some may not be as distant. I think our West Coast states in particular are going to have some reservation, but we'll see where our numbers are in April if the April 15th is the day. in some areas it's gotten worse, in some areas it's gotten better. Santa Clara County is one of those places that, thankfully our numbers are not as bad as they were not too long ago, and we're hopefully going to continue to get better and better. So when that date comes around, I think we'll all have an idea of what each of us can and can't do on our campuses, in our counties, in our states. But it is fascinating. If you ask me my opinion, I do think it's a little early. April 15th, there still might be a lot of stuff going on around this country that makes me nervous about people hopscotching around the country from campus to campus. But if it does happen, we'll look at our circumstances and see how best we can adhere to the rules, but at the same time, keep people as safe as possible.
Thanks very much, Coach.
Yep.
Next question will go to Daniel Martinez, Crams. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Coach. Conversation kind of popped up on campus about a divide between athletes and non-athletes on campus, and seemed like a lot of the response from athletes was that, Stanford has some perks for athletes, but you should look other places. There's a lot more. I was wondering if Stanford's level of perks affects recruiting at all, and then personally for you, what your experience was like with that divide between athletes and non-athletes.
First of all, as I'm able to do, I reject the premise of the question. There was one person gave an opinion, and a lot of people responded to it. And for me, I personally don't care, because people have whatever opinion that they want to have. Stanford University is not a perfect place, but it's a special place. It's a place where opportunities to do what you came to Stanford to do, Stanford tries to make those possibilities for you. It just so happens we're not able to bring back all of our students, which I know a lot of students were very disappointed, but we're able to bring back athletes in a very minimal fashion. And Stanford kept its promise to the athletes who gave them a promise of coming to be student athletes at Stanford. And our guys are grateful for that. As far as perks and plus and minuses, those are all recruiting nonsense, honestly, that people can say whatever they want to say. Bottom line for me is that we have a phenomenal university that is doing the best job it can during the middle of a pandemic in one of the most restrictive areas of our nation. So what you can and can't do on different campuses at different times, what are perks and what are not perks. One thing I've said is I haven't bumped into anybody ever that says, man, I wish I didn't have this Stanford degree. So our process at Stanford is different than other places. What we give our student athletes, the experience that they have on our campus and what they take with them in life, I don't know that any place else matches with that. And being able to play Division I football and have all that Stanford gives you while you're on campus is really all that matters. So people can have their opinions, great, that's fine. They're not going to affect what we do or how we do it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Next question will go to Troy Clarity. Go ahead, Troy.
Hey, Coach, I want to widen the shot for a moment if I can. Pac-12 overall, it seems like this year has done a bit of a better job of keeping the top talent within the footprint. That's been a bit of an issue over the past couple of years, it seems. How critical is this signing day process, this particular one, towards the future of what we could possibly see over the next few years up and down the conference?
That is a good question. And I'm probably one of the people that you probably don't want to ask that question to, because I really only care about one of the 12 schools. So for us, I'm really good with where we are. I think we addressed a lot of those things that we were looking for. Got a great combination of young men joining us. As long as we do well, I'm not really concerned about the rest of the conference. I know that's been a big talk about guys staying on the West Coast and guys leaving the West Coast. Recruiting, there's a lot of ebb and flow in parts of the nation. So I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm just concerned with us putting the best group of young men together to go out there and play this great game.
Gotcha. Thanks a bunch.
Back to Daniel Martinez, Crams.
Hey, Coach. Right now, obviously not the person to ask about that question from Troy, but new Pac-12 commissioner being looked at, and your name, unsurprisingly, was floated once again. It seems it's floated for every big opening. Wondering what your thoughts are on that and what you represent in the sport.
My name was floated as a possible commissioner.
I've seen it in random places. Yeah.
Wow. First, hell no. Second of all, I appreciate the thought of whoever put that out there. We're in a position right now as a conference where can't avoid it. The big elephant in the room is finalizing our next TV contract, and making sure that we are able to be as broadcast as we need to be across the country, right? In particular, being sitting here and as a national recruiter, you know, we need direct TV, right? We need access to as many homes as possible for a young person we're asking to come 3,000 miles across the country. They want to be seen by their family if they're not able to make the trip out here to watch them play. So that is as big as anything else coming up for the commissioner. And I'd rather sit here and be happy about that than actually try to negotiate that. So that's not going to be me. But I think we're in a good position as a conference. We're not where we want to be, of course. We want to be in a playoff. We want to be playing on national TV. We want to have as many teams ranked as possible. And like I said, I'm really concerned about one of those 12 teams. But I think the next commissioner's got a handful of things that is going to have to get done. And we'll obviously support whomever gets the job and work together to make this conference the best it can be as we go out there and try to win championships.
Anything else for Coach Shaw? Alrighty, thanks, Coach Shaw. We will send out audio and video shortly. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day.
Thank you all.